What's up, guys? Welcome back to the basement. Nathan, Bert, Tools, Cat somewhere. Um, so last time we talked, we started out building ourselves a new frame, or walking through how to build a new frame, and got a good start on that. And in true cocker dog fashion, as soon as I got started on that, I started 100 other projects. So we are finally coming back around to it. I've had a chance to finally expand and do a whole bunch of updating to the shop and get some new machines mounted and get some other stuff in, and it's been a lot of stuff. So without further ado, here is part two of making a new frame or pneumatic frame. We're going to go over how to make your backing plate. The easiest way that I've found, as always, this is one of those things that I'm sure everybody has their own way of doing it, but this is how I do it. So we'll go over that and we'll just see whether it works for you or not. So normally, what I'm going to do, this is just some random ass Lexan plastic stuff that I have laying around that I found in the back of the shop one day, and it was going to get thrown away, so I took it home, and this is what I use for making my backing plates, or at least in the few that I've done. So this is right about 1/8 of an inch. I think it's about 1/8 of an inch. Yeah. So this is about 1/8 of an inch thick. I mean, potentially you could use whatever the hell you wanted. You could do wood, you could do metal, you could do plastic, whatever the hell you want. It doesn't really matter as long as it's something that will that you can mount to. You don't necessarily need to be able to thread it, but you do need to be able to drill it and it still hold up. Okay, so as you can see, it's already got some markings on it. Basically what I did with this, so here's our frame, and this is the recessed portion in here. So you have to be able to have something that's going to sit down in there, mount to these mounting holes here, and essentially sit where the board was sitting. Okay, so that in mind, if you're using something like this mirrored Lexan and you want to use that mirrored side so it looks cool, keep in mind that when you make your template, at least if you're making your template the way I'm going to show you how I do mine, you need to make the template on the back side so that you're not marking up the front. Okay, that way you have to think kind of backwards. Okay, so that when it's all made, the template is sitting with the face facing out that you want. Okay, so what I would usually do is take the frame, flip it over, and put the back portion of whatever material you're using over the back, okay, or over the face. And then take this whole assembly and sit it face down on your bench or wherever you happen to have it. And then you're going to scribe the general outline of this portion, okay? Now the reason that we flip it over is on this side. See if I can get the light in there. See, on this side you can see you have all of these portions that are still left where you're going to have the mounting. So if you made that plate just to this outline, you're not going to have the portions that you need to mount it. So we need an outline of this front face. Okay, so that's why we flip it over. So what we're going to do is put that face down. This is a scriber. Okay, you can use a sharp pick, a pencil, I mean, whatever you happen to have around. I happen to have a scriber around for metal work, so I really like them because they keep a nice point, and it makes scribing stuff really easy. So that's what we're going to do. Let me kind of move you guys in here a second. Alright, so as you can see, we've got the frame with the mounting portions sticking up. We've got it pushed down against our Lexan that we're going to be using to make the template or to make our backing plate, and then we're just going to take the scriber and run around. Okay, so you really do want to scrape it in there, get right into the edges. Now this one I've already cut a pretty good outline into, so if we move this, you can see there is our outline. if you can see it. Can't really see it. But anyway, there we go. So I've scribed that outline into this piece of Lexan, or into the coating on the back. Okay. All right. So now the rest of this is what actually takes probably the most time out of this entire operation. Really, all you're going to do is you're going to take that outline that you just traced, and we're going to cut that down to where it's very, very close to the outline of what we had. Okay. The reason you want to leave yourself a little bit of wiggle room. If you're going to be making adjustments, you're going to be having to find where your clearance is, and you want enough. You don't want to go too far so that you can give yourself a nice finished product at the end. If you run a little too far or a little too aggressive with an aggressive file or aggressive sandpaper, then you have to take more off in order to smooth out that edge that you just made, or bevel or whatever. So that's what we're going to do with this. I've got a little bitty bandsaw over here that I'm going to take some of this off of. Before I got that, if you happen to be working with a plastic or a Lexan like this, I actually found that using a set of side cutters does really well at taking pretty good chunks out of this. Then go ahead and start in with a fairly rough file to do most of your shaping. And then, as you start to come down to where you're getting pretty close to how everything fits in, then you want to go ahead and start changing up your files to something a little bit smoother. Then maybe go down to sandpaper. I do all my shaping with files when it comes down to that, and then once you have your finished product, then you can pretty it up with sandpaper. Okay, so I'm gonna go do a bunch of that, and then we'll get back to the fun part. All right, so here is our relatively rough cut off the bandsaw. I'm not going to show you that part because, dear God, it's just louder than all hell. I've got a super cheapy little bitty bandsaw. I mean, I'm hanging out in my basement. I'm not making a whole lot of stuff, so it's cheap, it's loud, but it does the job. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take this over. I've got a little sander over here in the corner, just a little, again, little cheapy Harbor Freight Chinesium jobby, but it'll help me knock down a lot of these rough cuts, these edges, and we'll just go ahead and run everything down relatively smooth and close to the profile, and anything that needs detailing we'll go back and we'll do with a file. Okay, so again, loud cheapy machine, but it does the job. So I'll show you guys that in just a second. All right, so again, we have the general profile that we're looking for here. Now this is going to be modified yet again, but now we're going to take and we're going to sit here with these little bitty files and a couple bigger bastard files, and we're going to work this over about 84 more times until it will slip in here just happy hunky-dory. Okay, so we're obviously not there just yet. The biggest thing I can tell you is take this, push it up against, and look at where the gap is smaller, look at where the gap is bigger. That's going to obviously show you where you need to take more meat off, where you can leave more meat, where you need to reshape everything, and where you may have completely screwed the pooch. So, again, we're going to skip that. Now, like I said, some of this stuff is made a little bit easier with some power tools, but you don't have to have them. The first couple ones I did with of these, I did not have any power tools. I just did them all by hand, and it's still really not that bad. That's one thing I do like about working with this plastic, essentially, is it holds up just fine, it drills just fine, it's going to hold up, it's easy to work with, why not? So, I'll see you guys in a few minutes. All right, so more than a couple minutes later, here we are, and we have basically our blank for our mounting plate. Okay, now like I said, this is going to have to be modified one more time, and that right here I'm going to show you why. Okay, so we take our frame and we take our mounting plate, and the most important thing for this is that it mates up really well with the mounting holes. Okay, which which we have 3 of, right here, and right here. Now this little mounting hole, put it right against my forehead, this one right here, this little tabby do, that is part of where your air ram is going to mount. So that leads us to our next bit of trouble. So we've got our mounting plate well enough cut out to where it will slip down into our frame. But let's see if we can get a good shot here. You can see it'll kind of fit up against this mounting hole, and it'll kind of fit up against this mounting hole, but it's kind of off up top. That's because this tang right here, where the air ram is going to mount, is thicker than this mounting hole little tang tabby do is. Okay, so what we got to do now that we've got the general shape of what we need, now we have to cut around this. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. While we have everything together and pressed up as tight as we can there, we'll take our scribe and scratch ourselves a little outline around that tab. Now the good news is you really don't need any other kind of clearance around that tab. The air ram does sit up basically where the base is flush with the bottom of that tab. So once we get this cut out, we'll pretty well be set as far as that part fitting in. Alright, so let's do that. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. There's the phone. Oh, that's creepy. Alright, so here's what we ended up with. Okay, this is the backside. This is what it's going to look like sitting in there. Of course, the image is probably going to be reversed because this is on camera. But here's what we're working with. So we're going to take it and we're going to plop it in this here frame. And as you can see, ooh, nice. So it sits in there nice. And most importantly, it sits in there up against our 3 mounting points while clearing the little tabby do. Okay, so that is the hard part as far as making the backing plate. Okay, now the only other thing that you're really going to need to deal with is going to be making the screw holes. Okay, so the holes for les screws, which is extremely complex. We're going to find a little bitty drill bit. You want to use one that will fit through the screw hole. Okay, so this one, for example, is a 1/16 of an inch drill bit. We're going to take that 1/16 of an inch drill bit. We're going to chuck it in the drill, and then, disregarding all safety for the purpose of demonstrating how to do this for you fine folks at home, we're going to slip it gently through the screw hole in the frame. And we're going to start making screw holes. Okay? So, obviously, if you're going to be doing something stupid like this, where you're holding something that you're drilling into, be very, very careful that your fingers are out of the way, if you're fond of your fingers. I am. I mean, I know this is my left hand and I'm right-handed, so I'm not as fond of those fingers, but still. So you'll go through with the 1/16 of an inch drill bit first. This last one here. Okay. Pop that out. Now that is just the very inner diameter. Now you can stop at the 1/16 of an inch, but if you're working with plastic like this, it does like to crack if it is overstressed, especially when, you know, tapping or whatnot. So we're going to very carefully open those holes up just the tiniest bit. We're going to jump up to a 5/64 drill bit. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is your backing plate, to which we are going to be mounting the switch, the two-way air switch that is going, or the one-way air valve that is going to be running our new frame. Okay? So, all said and done, when we slap this doodad together, hot damn, the holes even line up. Ain't that nice? Look at that. I can pretend like I know what I'm doing. You'd never believe I was just making crap in my basement. So, that's about where we're going to cut it for tonight, guys. Then we're going to be going over how to mount, how to pick where to mount your valve, how to drill the frame, how to hopefully not mess any of this up. So, as always, if there's something you guys want to check out or something that I haven't covered very well, feel free to let me know. I'm sure there's plenty of it, considering I post like once a year now. So just let me know. Thanks, guys. Bye.